This is basically a multi-engine flight test.
Engine fuel selector, then I go to crossfeed.
Good, and make sure you're doing the right engine since that's the failed one.
Thank you, sorry. That was classic.
I'm riding along learning a ton while Jason gets recurrent in the DA42 Twin Star.
Okay, good, so there we go, we shut the engine down.
Okay.
We're planning to take some very special cargo the following day.
Whoa, is that Whoa.
That's pretty awesome.
That's great.
Using General Aviation to surprise these girls heading to a dream destination. The Flight Chops project has allowed me to do some pretty awesome stuff, and I often share it with my family. But in the case of this flight over Vancouver, Evelyn got a little bored because we were airborne longer than expected, while Ryan and I were geeking out up front. I promised myself the next time I took her flying, we'd go somewhere extra special. So along with friend and instructor Jason, we decided to use General Aviation to take our daughters for a surprise trip. So we're gonna fly this DA42 basically from San Francisco to LA. But in order to do that, Jason needed to do a recurrency checkout the previous day. I tagged along both to test the camera setups for the girls, and also because I knew it would be a great learning experience. And if Jason doesn't pull this off, the surprise trip is dead in the water, so he's definitely feeling the pressure. We're flying with Briano, a highly experienced multi-IFR instructor from Bay City Flyers. We'll get back to the check flight in a minute.
See, ladies, how do we get you in the backseat there?
Because not only do we have to safely fly and navigate this thing halfway across California, but we also have to contend with a couple pretty interesting passengers.
This is oats and honey.
I don't know where this snack is gonna go.
Let's see what we got.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna close this, okay?
Are you filming this? I can't hear anything. Talking on the microphone.
Okay, one other thing, you guys. Sometimes Steve and I have to talk to each other.
Oh, and then you go like this?
Yeah, we're gonna put our fingers up like that. And if you see that, that just means we can't talk to you for a second. We'll be right back with you. Are you guys good?
So knowing these two would be a handful to manage, I came up with a system.
It is a lot to manage.
Can I use it?
No, honey, there's nothing to be used. Case in point.
Alright.
So I'm gonna be DIC on this flight.
What's that?
Dad in command.
Okay, good. I think we need a DIC.
We're all good back here.
Clear left.
So the girls think we're just going on a sightseeing flight. But we're actually planning to fly about 320 miles from NorCal down to Fullerton, California, the closest GA airport to Disneyland.
My engine's going.
Check 1, 2, can everyone hear me okay?
I got me, I got you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, is it blinking?
No.
Okay.
Steve is gonna help you out, alright? He's dad in command.
Thank you. Thank you, Daddy.
Okay, I got it.
Back to Jason's checkout, he's running the lists and getting ready to go. I'm going to share as many of the learning nuggets as I can in real time.
We're gonna left engine first. Master's coming on. Clear prop left. Clear left.
It's the orange key.
Thank you.
And remember to, don't look at the prop, look right here at the RPM until it's at 500.
Excellent.
Jason had just done his ATPL flight test in this airplane about 90 days ago. Yet he was still a little rusty from the start, so it really shows that currency in a multi-engine airplane is a real thing. Clearly this episode can't share the entire flight in real time, but that is the sort of thing that Patreon supporters get. But here we are after getting taxi clearance and about to do the run-up.
Alright, let me quick look here. Taxi clearance for me, brakes, compass, HSI, attitude, turn, all the taxi checks complete. Alright, we're in position, the park brakes on. Belts are good. You guys get on seatbelts?
Yep.
Hey Steve, can you verify the rear doors locked for me? Just look at the latch and make sure. Yeah, okay. Good.
It's all good.
Alright. Front baggage doors are closed. Engine instruments, green fuel temperature, power. Okay, so we're on idle. Let's check our ECU swaps. Select ECU test buttons. Let's see, make sure we didn't miss anything. Swaps, we did. Okay, test buttons. Let's press and hold.
Hey, this will be for 15 seconds, and you're just gonna wait for that whole cycle to run through.
Yep. That's the run up, Steve. That's pretty cool.
I know, right?
Alright, that all looks good. Alright, door open, message extinguished. So let's close this fully.
Okay.
Let's verify we get a door closed. We do. Flight controls are free and correct for real. Alright, GPS flight plan, nav frequencies, comm frequencies, fuel selectors are on. Trim is set 2 ways for takeoff. Flaps are up. I verified that. Transponder, good. Flight director set, departing altitude and heading. Alright, so we're going off runway 28 left today. We've got plenty of runway, more than 5,000 feet. I don't remember the exact number at the moment. We're going to take the full length of the runway. We'll get set up for departure. Our abort point today for our 70% of our speed is probably the VASI lights off around 28 right if we're having issues building speed at that point.
Okay.
We're going to abort. If anything funny happens, directional control issues on the takeoff roll, we're just going to power back and stop. We're going to rotate at 75. We'll leave the gear down to 200 feet. Initially 85 knots in the climb.
Okay.
Once we clear 200 feet, flaps come on.
Sounds good.
If there's an engine failure, immediately after takeoff we set below 200. We're just going to power back, land straight ahead. You'll take the plane today.
Sounds good.
I've flown with Jason many times, and I appreciate that all of his pre-takeoff briefings are this thorough, not just for training flights.
And after the gear comes up, we are going to pitch forward, maintain yaw control, verify everything's forward, and then identify the dead engine, dead foot, dead engine. Once we've totally verified that with power changes, we will let the engine master off. This is a good question. Would you cycle the ECU, or do you just assume auto works?
This close to the ground, I wouldn't. If it was engine failure on takeoff, I would not, and I would assume auto works. Yeah, I would just feather it and deal with the wind engine.
I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Steve, you ready?
Affirmative.
Hey, we're Tower, Twin Star 328 Tango Sierra, ready for takeoff, 28 left, full length.
Twin Star 328 Tango Sierra, Hayward, Tower, right cross to departure, approved, runway 28 left, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 28 left, 328 Tango Sierra.
Do a short field takeoff, Jason.
All right. Compass matches runway heading.
Roger.
All right. All right, power's coming in. Good.
Tango 7's on the ground left, closed,
Power
traffic
set.
Charlie.
Engine gauges are green, airspeed's alive. We got our abort speed. Short field, I would bring the gear up right away.
All right, there's 200 feet.
Gear's up.
Confirmation 17542 up space
You let Darth Vader on.
Are we going now?
Trust me, you'll know.
What are you doing?
Guys, you can have fun, but don't be completely goofballs, okay?
All right, is everyone ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, Steve, you all set?
Yep.
Anything else to brief on departure? I kind of know what I'm doing if we have an engine failure.
Yeah,
Through it all yesterday.
Yep.
Flying multi-engine aircraft is all about dealing with engine failures, so Jason was put to the test constantly on this flight.
Alright, well, it looks like we have a little engine problem here. So I'm going to maintain blue line and yaw control of the airplane. So there we go. We would verify that everything is full forward. Dead foot is dead engine, so I would manipulate the throttle. If it was, I would hit master switch off and it would feather.
Okay, I'll go ahead and sim feather here.
Alright.
It was really cool being able to see Jason in the hot seat. I was learning a lot just observing from the comfort of the back on this one.
Right foot workout again.
To get to 1300, you have both engines back.
Alright, both engines.
We'll continue this climb on a heading of 360.
We're going now.
And Tower 328 Tango Sierra, VFR at Alpha as well.
22 Tango Sierra, Hayward Tower, and confirm your VFR.
Affirmative, we're VFR.
Proceed up to in front of the jet and citation 342 Tango, left the Twin Star in front of you.
Your girls lean in the middle so you can see this camera.
Alright, we're just waiting for him to say cleared for takeoff.
38 Tango Sierra, right cross and first, you're approved. Runway 28 left, and I'll clear for takeoff.
28 left at Alpha, clear for takeoff, 328 Tango. Alright, let's go.
Put the right down.
Line up and away, 28 left at Alpha, 342 Tango. Alright, engine gauges are good, airspeed's got our abort speed. And there's rotate.
Tower, just confirming you want 340 Sierra Tango to line up and wait on the and actually you can expect the clearance. Wind 260 at 7, runway 2 left at Alpha, clear for takeoff.
Whoa, is that Whoa.
That's pretty awesome.
That's great.
So far, this is actually feeling like a magical flight on our way to a magical destination. But back on Jason's checkout, things are getting pretty tense.
Alright, looks like we have an issue with the engine. First thing we're going to do is pitch down, control the yaw, Go everything full forward so that we can identify the dead engine. I've got a dead right foot, verify that that's the dead engine, secure the master switch.
I would say probably go to 100% initially. All right, so full power, verify, gear up, flaps up, then identify.
Okay, good. Full power, gear up, flaps up, identify.
Okay, before we shut down, we're in an altitude here where we have time to troubleshoot, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and set in some rudder trim here, and then you've got your troubleshooting checklist. Let's start cycling through those items.
Right, so engine failure in flight, we've got power levers we increased. We can verify gear up, flaps up, and airspeed. Engine troubleshooting, the alternate air I would check right here, pulling that on.
Okay.
Fuel quantity I would check.
It shows full.
All right, the engine fuel selector verified on. Engine fuel selector, then I go to cross feed.
Good, and make sure you're doing the right engine since that's the failed one.
Thank you, sorry. That was classic.
That's a classic but serious mistake when flying multi-engine.
Everything you need is on the bottom row, and it's all in, so there's no problem there.
Okay, so we're going to head over here to Concord, so let's go ahead and secure the motor. That's going to be engine idle off, master switch off. You want to go there?
Let's do it. Okay, you're going to get a big reduction in drag there,
yeah,
so
that's lovely.
That's much easier to manage.
Much easier.
Okay, for now let's continue flying a straight line though. We'll fly that heading in altitude, good.
We're not descending, things are looking good. Caution, that makes all sense.
This was my first time in a twin-engine plane actually flying on one engine, but planning to get the rating, it was pretty cool to see how smoothly it went.
Okay, good. So there we go. We shut the engine down.
Okay, very good. So let's do a little maneuvering on one engine. How about we do a right turn heading 060? All
right.
Looks good. Ball should always be deflected halfway towards the good engine. On this new heading, we'll go ahead and do the engine restart.
Okay. All right, can I just review the checklist here? It's below 100 knots.
Below 90 knots, actually.
Below 90.
Depends on which way you're trying to do it. If you want to do a bump start, below 90. If you want to do an air start, above 120. Where we're at right now is kind of no man's land.
Yeah, let's get below 90.
By the time you get through with this checklist, you're going to be well below 90 and probably close to blue line. So as you're reading through it, your speed will slow down.
Good. In-op engine selector, engine fuel selector is on. Power levers idle. Airspeed in-out master switch is going to go on. That'll get us our feathers. You want to slow down a little more?
We're below 90 knots. This is perfect right here. It's going to start unwinding, and it'll do a couple cranks on its own, and you just find that time in between to give it a bump start. All the way up to 500. You got to crank it until it gets to 500.
384, contact NorCal approach 125.35. Get it.
There you go.
125.
Okay, it's going to continue unfeathering, no power yet. Let it stabilize. Now you can add the power in.
I was relieved that Jason's check flight was going so well, because I put a lot of effort into planning the surprise trip with the girls.
Is it nice and comfortable back there, you guys?
Yeah.
This is using GA for what it's meant for.
Oh man, this is like what it's all about.
So you wanted to see California?
Yeah.
Is this a good way to see California?
Now can we watch a show?
Yes, you can.
I had the girls set up with A20 headsets plugged into an iPad so they could watch movies.
We're 2,500 now and requesting 7,500 on Porsche.
Thank you, Roger. Remain outside of the class Bravo airspace and maintain VFR idle below 4,500. For now, I'll have higher shortly.
VFR idle below 4,500 for now, future Tango.
All right, do you want to talk a little bit about what it took to make this happen while you're being pilot in command and I was being data command? Because I was not really paying attention.
Yeah, it took the isolation button. All about 3 seconds. Once that avionics switch came on, I was listening to the ATIS. I was like, boom, isolate pilot.
Yeah.
So it was good that we can isolate both, me or both of us, because then you can be dead with that.
Yeah, that's totally what we were doing. I was completely keeping them all briefed and happy.
Right.
And I kind of missed the initial stuff. So we're going VFR today. We didn't file a flight plan, but we did file a flight itinerary with our wives.
Yeah, we did. We're going to file a flight plan for search and rescue. It just takes me a second. I'm going to just wait till we clear the congested airspace.
Okay.
Before we get too much further into this flight, it's time to tell the girls where we're actually going.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Can you pause it for a second?
Pause it.
So you know why I put so many Disney movies on the iPad?
Why?
Because I thought it would be cool if we watched Disney movies on the way to DisneyLand.
Really?
Yeah, really, for real.
We're going to fly this plane to Disneyland right now.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness, we're going to Disneyland? I can't wait. This is so awesome. Yeah. I didn't know we were going to. Oh my goodness. Wait, Daddy, does Mommy know?
Yep, Bonnie knows.
There's a big secret surprise.
Oh yeah. Thanks for keeping it a secret. Yeah.
You're welcome. I almost blew it about 10 times.
It was hard to make that secret. I put Frozen on there too, so you guys can watch different movies.
But we like Incredible.
Then you watch Incredibles.
Thanks.
Okay.
That was a priceless moment, and I'm so happy to share it. This is what being a pilot is all about.
I can't believe it. We're actually going to Disneyland.
That right there makes it all worth it.
The last thing Jason needed to prove on his checkout flight was that he could fly a single-engine approach. And Briano managed to make this one a surprise too.
Dust is starting to blow off. All right, what approach do you want to do?
Why don't we plan on the little more difficult one? We'll do the VOR 19 right.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Travis approach, Twin Star 328 Tango Sierra.
Twin Star 328 Tango Sierra, Travis approach, Travis Timber 2998, say destination in the nomenclature for type aircraft.
Roger, 2998, we are a Delta Alpha 42, a Twin Star. We are approximately 5 miles to the northeast of the Concord VOR, requesting the VOR runway 19 or right approach into Concord. We'll be missing that approach.
Okay, Tango Sierra, Roger, squawk 5230.
5230, 328 Tango Sierra. Alright, let's just kind of go through a flow check here for the descent. Engine gauge is looking good. The system's looking good. Power set where we want it. Descent checklist. Status, comms, seatbelts, fuel, brakes. Okay, lights approach checklist complete.
Yeah, that's the Blue Angels out there.
Where? Okay, so pitch. I've got yaw control, pitch control, flaps up, gear up, full power on this engine, dead foot, dead engine. I'm going to verify that and then feather that engine so we can simulate a feather. That was good, dude. I was like, Blue Angels, please, where? Let's go.
Let's go ahead and go back to 100% load. A little note about the verification, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of difficult to tell with those engines which one has failed because the manifold pressure just goes to outside pressure. And the benefit of an ECU is when we change, we immediately see a change in load.
Right.
So along with looking at your foot, verifying, okay, this one's definitely dead, you can do a second verification simply by looking at the load. And you can almost say, okay, right engine's definitely the one that's weaker.
Right.
Shut that one down.
That's very visual too. It's like 2 lines, right? It's not just a bunch of needles, a sea of needles.
Right.
Being an instructor regularly working the Class Bravo airspace around San Francisco, Jason didn't have a problem with this.
Don't do anything crazy, waiting for the flag.
Cameras are on an aircraft, traffic follow now, short final set.
Boy, that's heavy.
Excellent.
There you go. Use that trim. You can go full deflection with that. That'll help out a lot.
Wow, yeah, that's big.
Coming into land. Thank you very much.
So beyond the variable of managing this single engine, this approach went smoothly, and we executed a missed approach and went back to Hayward.
Target approach speed on final?
85, right?
85 works. PTS would tell you 82 depending on weight or 79.
Okay.
So there's like a 3-knot difference there, you know, between the two. If we were doing a short field landing, I'd probably have you go with 79 just to reduce the time in the flare.
A little bit of a crosswind from the left, maybe.
There was no turning back now. Jason had passed his checkout, and we were going flying tomorrow. The girls had finally fallen asleep for a bit, and after they woke up, we were almost there.
After you sleep, it's freezing cold.
Hey girls,
Yeah?
the Disneyland right now is in front of us, so when we turn, because we're going to land over there, it's going to be out your window.
Oh, yay.
I think I see it, girls. Do you see it that way? The point to tall things like rides?
Oh, yeah, look.
And shout out to the flying community for helping me make this happen during the planning phases. And an extra special thanks to Ed, who was there to film our landing and give us a ride to Disneyland. He's a student pilot and a fan of both Flight Shops and the Finer Points of Flying podcast.
Oh, we're landing.
There are hundreds of general aviation airports sprinkled all across the country, and this sort of trip is pretty affordable when you think about it compared to the time and money that you'd spend traveling with an entire family on the regular airlines. This was a really fun adventure, and I hope to share a lot more of these types of trips with my family after I get my training for my instrument and multi-engine rating done. And please do check out flightshops.com this month because we are giving away $1,000 for you to put towards your training. And thanks again to sponsors and Patreon supporters for making productions like this possible. This one meant a lot to me and I was really happy to share it. And thanks to Bay City Flyers because they gave us a really good deal on that plane. Their link along with Briano's link will be in the description. And for all the back catalog episodes and to join our mailing list and of course to play the contest, please visit flightshops.com. And as always, keep your flight chops sharp.
You see it?
Yeah. Hollywood.
That's right. Good job.
Cool. Hollywood. I know.